I mean, I don't know much about the podcast thing, but I thought we should probably know stuff about the podcast thing. Apple launching paid subscriptions to podcasts.
Well, lots of other channels, Stitcher for one, have had paid subscription stuff for a long time. So
yeah,
bit of
but I feel like this is something we should be aware of. Apple charging subscriptions. I think there was I ignored it because again I thought, yeah, will Spotify technically do this? There's lots of paid subscription things, so I wonder what the Apple thing is about. Like what's such a big deal about it? Apparently there was a lot of comments around it basically being a really big deal and not great for people like us,
Well, again, it's this feels like well, actually it says here it's not dissimilar to its App Store business. Where, again, if you take like incremental payments on an App Store application, then Apple are going to take a 30% commission. And it says here that they're going to take a 30% commission on subscription to podcasts.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It's a hell of a lot.
Maybe we should make this into a paid subscription. 50 cents for that tech show. You get that tech show live or something. I don't know. We've got to monetize. We've got to monetize. How do we monetize?
Which is much better than you've actually got that right for the first time.
How do we monetize? We've already monotonized it.
We've already done that bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I didn't know whether you had thought on this Apple stuff and whether it is this big game-changing thing in a bad way. Is it destructive? Is it? I'm not too sure.
I think it depends. I mean, whether because you kind of have to have stuff on Apple Podcasts, don't you? And a lot of people still listen to stuff on Apple Podcasts. It could make it very disruptive if you kind of have to, because I know that other people. What tends to happen, like if you take Stitcher as an example, a lot of the Stitcher premium content is actually just the long tail. So take WTF podcast with Mark Maron. The first 60 odd episodes are available for free. And if you want the back catalogue of the other like 1,200 or however many there are now, that's where the subscription comes in. Your subscription pays for your access to the back catalogue.
That's interesting.
I kind of worry if Apple were going to introduce this, that it kind of forces you into a rule where, we would end up in trouble potentially, because actually we're more likely to get listeners if our content is free or advert supported. If we start paying for things, I think it's like when you're a new indie band, in your teenage years, the most you can get away with getting people to pay at the door is probably £2 or £3. Like, people aren't going to pay any more than that to get in to come and see you, because you've not written any songs. You're not interesting. In the same ways that you and I are not celebrities. So, asking people to pay to listen to you is a hard ask. And if Apple want to do that and then charge you 30% on top of that for the privilege, that could be a real negative. But it depends on how it's implemented, really. But it says that it's available after a
well, that's it. That's the news, that it is finally available. So I wonder if anything's going to change here. But on that, I think on that note of what we can feasibly demand, I think right now we're running off donations. So if you do want to donate to That Tech Show, we do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/That Tech Show, and that's as much as you can do, because there are people who are willing to pay. There are people who are willing to support stuff. It's just
I mean, that's the thing. I don't think people necessarily realize that when you set up a podcast, like, we run at a loss, because we have to edit the content, we have to host the content, and we don't have any advertising on our show, and it is purely donation based. So.
Yeah, so really it's only the big, and I think if you're going to do the paid thing, you have to come with a nice idea. I like that Mark Maron idea, actually, about getting the back catalogue. That's a really nice way of saying, giving something back, and it's non-obtrusive because we're still giving you content for free. I like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and his stuff is great. Like, there's a real big back catalogue of, like, he's been doing it for a decade, right? So there's people on there that are dead. And, if you want to go back and listen to an hour, 2 hour, up to 2 hour conversation with, someone like Robin Williams. Actually, there's a Robin Williams episode on there, which is fantastic listening. So it's that's a back catalogue that's really worth listening to.
Yeah, but you have to bring something innovative, and it's up to the creators to actually make it a worthwhile thing. Well, that's the sad thing. It's make it a worthwhile thing listening to. If the podcast isn't already enough with people like us running at a loss, who knows? But yeah, anyway, that's the shift at the moment. Apple have joined the paid for club.